Good morning, it's Drew and welcome to a long overdue update on the TVR restoration, and happy to report quite significant progress. Those of you following the project will probably notice that it's got the semi-spare wheel on the back. I'll say semi-spare wheel because of the size of the uprated front calipers at the front. It doesn't actually fit at the front of the car, but happily it does fit at the back. And what happened was that back of the front near side tyre has developed a slow puncture. I think it's the valve. Obviously it's been there on that wheel for a very long time, so that'll go off to the tyre place this week. I'll get that valve sorted out so we can have a proper rolling chassis, but that's the reason that the spare is on there. But you will see that the chassis is looking infinitely cleaner, tidier, and indeed more solid than it ever has done before. I've now got the painting done on the repaired outriggers. As promised, put a coat of zinc primer on top of the red oxide primer. I then stone chipped most of it, certainly those areas that are likely to face stone chip damage, and then I've just topped it off with a top coat of silver just to bring it all in. Obviously that was the real Achilles heel in this car. Again, how big a problem is it after sort of 20-25 years, and certainly better part of 10 years of those standing around outside? Don't think it's going to be a problem really for the future with the use this car will have, but I might put a coat of lacquer on there, and then before the bodywork goes back on, I will spray it all with some clear wax, particularly in all the places that were rotten. But the big news is the rear suspension, both sides, is now done and complete. Say complete. One of the things that happens when you take the suspension apart is you lose the camber setting on here. So what I will do is get hold of a camber gauge. They're not very expensive on eBay. I'll do my best to set the camber up, but most likely this car will get a four-wheel alignment when it finally gets back on the road. But yeah, really pleased how this all came together. Fair amount of stripping down, a couple of seized and frozen bolts, but you know, a coat of hammerite after a good whizzy wheel on the wire brush, and it has all come up really rather good. Obviously I did the rubber gaiters on the drive shafts, and this side was the real pickle insofar as a load of the bolts on this side were stripped out. I did keep them for posterity. They're around here somewhere, maybe focusing on them at the end of the video if I can remember where they are. The real debate I've had is how much further I was going to go with the diff. Do I drop it out, clean it, or paint it? I don't think there's any real good reason to do so because it all works and everything. Obviously I'll loosen up the topping up nut or filler cap, whatever you call it, and change the oil in there, but probably won't go very much further with that for now. I've got to get a few new nylon nuts just to fit on the shock absorber mounts, and then give everything a good torque down as well. But yeah, really pleased with that. And now my thoughts are really turning to the front of the car and getting the engine and the gearbox all back together. You'll note the unusual rear engine mount, but that's only supported by these mounts here, which I do think might be a little bit perished. But what I think I'm going to do is get the engine on the crane, lift it up, and potentially take it out of the car if I can find a spare pair of hands, get the chassis a good clean up around where the engine sits, clean up the engine a little bit as best as I can, then put the resurfaced flywheel on, kept all the bolts as you can see all in one place, and then get the clutch on and then get the gearbox dropped in. Got the mount clean, painted, all ready to offer up. Again, that will of course have some new nylocks on it, and a bit more chassis prep around the central part, and then we really will have made some sound progress. Yeah, here we go. These are the seized drive shaft bolts, 3 all on one side. Happily the first one I put a little bit of heat on and then fiddled it out with my mole grips. The three on the driver's side just came out with the mole grips, so mightily relieved. And also just a bit of compare and contrast. These are some of the old fixings from the rear suspension, so I've replaced all the washers as a matter of course, the thrust washers where they've been fitted, and yeah, all the nylocks. So yeah, looking really good. Got to make a decision about the rear brake calipers. They do look like they've been stuck at the bottom of the sea for a rather long time, which is sadly the story really with the whole car. So I'm looking into getting them refurbed. I think that's probably the best way to go for safety and longevity once the vehicle's finished. So there we go, sound progress, back on a rolling chassis, looking like she belongs to someone. A little bit more work to do. I have a few bits to order up, which frankly is the fun part of any restoration. I'm going to replace these heater pipes at the rear of the engine where they go into the front of the car. But yeah, really happy. Obviously, if you're following on and like what you see, please hit subscribe, and any questions, comments below. Thank you.